Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, How to Build a Better Welcome Email series. We're going to give everybody a minute to log on and get settled. It's 1 o'clock right now, so we'll start up in a minute or so. All right, hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Build a Better Welcome Email series. My name is Laura, and I'll be your moderator. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping items. Right now, you should be hearing audio, so make sure your volume is on and turned up. If you have any questions, feel free to submit them at any time through the questions panel on your top nav, and we'll be answering questions at the end of the webinar. We are recording today's session, and we'll follow up with a link within a few days to the recording and the slides, so keep an eye on your inbox for that. And lastly, don't forget to join the conversation on Twitter. Mention us at Movable Ink using the hashtag #WelcomeSeries. Now I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Chris Kopiar. Chris is our Associate Account Director on our Client Experience team out in San Francisco. He works with a number of innovative brands, including Disney, Ticketmaster, and Macy's on email marketing strategies to drive increasing engagement and ROI. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chris.
Great, and thank you for that introduction. Welcome everyone this morning. I appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to discuss Welcome Series emails with us. So a bit about the content that we're going to be reviewing today. As mentioned, as we're moving through today's presentation, please do reach out with any questions you may have directly to us using that hashtag #WelcomeSeries, tweeting at Movable Ink. As we move through today's presentation, we're going to discuss a bit about the Welcome Series. We'll talk about the right way to approach planning your Welcome Series, building the series, and then talk a bit about tips and takeaways that you can take home with you today. So let's move on to discussing the welcome email. So a bit about today's presentation. Today we're here to discuss the Welcome Series. So how many of us have a welcome email, but we know there's a larger story that we need to tell about our brand that can't be accomplished in just one touch point? How much value are we really providing in that first touch point without a fully fleshed out and personalized Welcome Series? Knowing that the most difficult part about a Welcome Series is knowing where to start. It can seem like a large and overwhelming endeavor, but today we're going to provide you with the tools you need to be able to step away and start planning the proper Welcome Series. You know, some of the questions that we ask ourselves and some of the questions that we receive on quite a regular basis from our clients are, you know, why is a personalized Welcome Series pivotal? What's the proper cadence? How many emails? What's the right messaging? What opportunities are we missing? At the conclusion of today's presentation, we'll have provided you with the tools to be able to start that conversation, start that planning, and definitely encourage you to reach out to your account planning teams if you're already currently a client with Movable Ink. If not, we definitely encourage you to reach out with questions following today's seminar. Again, we're going to provide you with the tools to start planning your perfect Welcome Series at the conclusion of today's webinar, but there's definitely deeper conversations to be had. So let's talk a bit about that first question of why is a personalized Welcome Series important? knowing that email marketing is still the gold standard for your return on your investment. What can you expect from a return on your investment in email technology? Email is still king. For every dollar spent on email marketing, your average return is $44.25. That's an incredible return, especially when you take a look at your investments in other channels, knowing that email is still leading that charge. And talking specifically about welcome series emails, these are your highest engaged with emails. This is your opportunity to set the proper tone at that first touch point. These are going to be your highest open emails, your highest click-through emails, which means this is also your opportunity and your responsibility to set the right tone from the start with your audience base. 34% higher read rates with welcome emails, 3 times transaction rates, 86% more opens. This is an awesome opportunity to engage your audience from that first engagement within the inbox. So how do we go about doing that? So let's talk a bit about the planning that goes into your welcome email series. This is often the most daunting task that we take on as email marketers, but what we'll provide you with today are those tools that are going to allow you to start creating a plan, a cadence, your content, the right messaging before you even move into that design phase. The first recommendation we have for you when planning your welcome series is to set your objectives. Your responsibility in your welcome series is to provide a value. Every email in the inbox should provide a value to your opener, to your customer. Second responsibility is to drive an action. Each of your emails should have an action and a goal associated to them. And number 3 is to start building a customer profile. This is the real opportunity that you have here that many marketers are missing out on, and we're going to talk about some innovative ways in which we can help enable you to start building those profiles from the first touch point. And how is it that we can start building those profiles? One of the technologies that we're most excited about at MoveWing, one of those feature sets that we enable you as the marketer to start implementing in your program in a very strategic manner is progressive profiling. So what is progressive profiling? Progressive profiling is a method of using live polls, gamification, to continuously collect deeper insights about a consumer while creating engaging, interactive experiences that encourage participation. So why is it that this is important? As email marketers, we've had this dream of creating a method of inbound data collection through profile centers. Our challenge is we don't have enough personalized, actionable data on our customers. The solution we thought would work was preference centers. But why do preference centers not work? What we see overwhelmingly is that the moment you include more than 3 form fields on a website, participation, engagement drastically decreases. Users don't feel encouraged to proactively provide you with information on how to market to them better. But as an email marketer, that's something that's very pivotal. That is something that's crucial to our ability to create personalized communications. That is where progressive profiling comes into play, that method of gamification that's going to allow us to start eliciting preferences in a manner that's both fun and engaging for our user. And that gives us 2 benefits: a short-term benefit of increased engagement rates from open time click-throughs, a decrease in unsubs, and that longer-term benefit that we're going to focus on here today, which is the ability to start creating more personalized communications from the start, directly from the email itself. And how do we go about doing that? The first step that we're going to take in planning our email series is planning your message. So again, how do we go about determining what is the right cadence, what is the right content, what is the right messaging, what is the right number of emails? The first thing that you should be doing when you're planning your Welcome Series email is listing 5 things that you need to know about your customer in order to create a personalized experience. Simply sit down, open up the laptop, start determining what are those missing data points you have, or what are those most important and crucial data points you require in order to create an email that's going to be both relevant, personalized, and provide value. Then list 5 things that you want your customer to know about your brand. Our Welcome Series isn't only about data collection. Again, it's about providing value. It's about providing the most important information that your customers should know about you and your business in order to create that stronger bond. And number 3 is plotting out how many emails it will take to collect and relay the items on your list. This is now where we can start to answer that question. How many emails are appropriate for our Welcome Series? Let's base that on data. Let's base that on a much more scientific method. Once we know the data that we need inbound, once we know those message points we need to provide outbound, we can start determining the proper number of emails and the proper cadence. So now we can see things are starting to come together. And now that's going to allow us to start building the series. We know what data we need. We know what messages we need to relay. We know we're starting to get a picture of how many emails, how many communications that's going to take. So now we can start plotting that to our list of emails. Email number 1, what should be contained within that first email? This is your opportunity to set the stage, to deliver on the promise you made. This also answers the question, should we have different emails for different methods of inbounding customers? If you made a promise to your customer, receive 20% off when you sign up for our emails today, save 25% off. You need to deliver on that promise immediately. But we're also able to start providing some of that important first touch point information, right? So it's not only an incentive, but it's setting the stage to let you know exactly what you should be expecting from this series. Here's what's coming your way. Here's how many emails you should expect to see. Here's what's the most important information for you to know in addition to delivering on that promise. And now we can also start profiling our users. So we can see in section 3, in our sample email number 1, we're asking for a bit of information. Tell us who you shop for. And you can see this is based very much on the information that would be most important to us and to our business. Now, if you don't know what that information is off the top of your head today, don't worry about it. This is something that planning stage is going to help you start mapping out, and that's just something that you can definitely start reaching out and partnering together with your client experience team to determine what are the proper questions to ask and when is the proper question to ask them. In this example, we're looking for some profiling data to help us determine both a relationship and an age range. My nugget, my munchkin, age 3 to 5. My scholar, age 5 to 10. My grandkid, my nephew, right? So now once we have those clicks, and again, that progressive profiling, that live polling technology from MoveLink, we enable you to take these clicks directly from within an email and apply that data to your CRM. So now you can run a report and say, tell me if John Smith, what did he click on in this email? Run a report to tell me how many users are shopping for their scholar, for their grandchildren, for their niece and nephew. We can start building this puzzle directly. We can start applying these puzzle pieces directly from that first touch point within the email. And that's going to enable us to put in place some automations in our future emails to directly act on that data. Which brings us to email number 2. So now in email number 1, we've set a bit of the stage, we've given expectations, we've delivered on our promise, we've started to collect data, and now this is our opportunity to start telling our story. Again, as email marketers, one of the challenges we have is creating an emotional bond. But we know those emotional bonds, those personalized emails, those are what hold the greatest opportunities for us. And that's really important if you want to create a lasting relationship with your audience that's based on affinity rather than based on an incentive, on what's the best deal that you can give me. So this is the opportunity now to start telling your story and making that emotional connection. So you can see in this example email number 2 we have, not only have we started the conversation by telling a bit about the story, but we're also, we're also providing you more value by letting you know what are the most important and relevant brand points, brand conversations, brand stories we have that will make an emotional connection with you. Now, in this example, in section number 2, we're specifically tailoring this message based on that click from email number 1. If we know that you have a child aged 2 to 5, there's an emotional connection we can make with you, both in the design and in the messaging. We can determine what are the right images, what are the right messages to show you. If we know that you have a grandchild, we can speak to you as a grandparent. It allows us to start speaking with a much more direct and relevant and emotionally connecting brand voice. And if you may be asking yourself, hey, that sounds great, but I'm a bit concerned that that may be a big ask from our design team, from our technical team, not to worry, have some conversations with us, with your client experience team. There's a lot of ways we can go about automating this in a manner that is much more simplistic than you may feel. And again, one of our goals here is to create these automations in a manner that removes the need for manual curation. So that's a conversation to follow. And then in section 3, we're also able to continue delivering on creating that conversation through social reach. So as a new customer, one of the best things that we can do for you is not only tell you ourselves about the things we think are most important, but providing that social validation, extending your social reach. So we've included in section 3 of this email a live inbound Twitter stream where we're pulling directly from social media. In this instance, we're pulling in from Twitter, providing that validation from your peers. And we're also encouraging you to tweet back out to us. So again, we're turning our welcome series into less of a one-way messaging and more of a bi-directional conversation. We're telling you some things, but we're listening for what it is you're telling us. And then we're crafting the message and encouraging that interaction. And that'll bring us through to email number 3. Some of our goals in email number 3 are 1, offering a targeted, personalized content and offerings based on customer profiles. Again, speaking to that power of personalizations, not only is email returning $44.25 for every $1 of investment, personalizations can increase that reach. Personalized content increases that return on your investment by, on average, north of 80%. That's why it's very important to bake into your welcome series these automated follow-ups that are completely based on your customers' interactions in previous emails. And in this section, in section number 1 of email number 3, again, we're speaking to you in a brand voice that's making that emotional connection, providing value to you as our customer, but is also in alignment with our business goals. So in section number 1, we're saying just for your munchkin, inspire ideas and products, right? Inspiration. So we're making that connection. And we're basing that off of those preferences that you provided us in previous emails in that cadence. You may be asking yourself, okay, great, but what if if one of our customers has not clicked on one of those preferences in an earlier email? There's conversations that we can have about that, but again, we can layer in this business logic in a much more simple fashion than you may expect, in order to always provide a personalized message in these emails, and those are conversations that we can have following today's presentation. But now that we've offered, again, more value, more personalizations, this is our opportunity to continue building that relationship. So not only have we included a personalized hero image, not only have we automated a process that's going to pull in product recommendations, which is going to greatly increase your propensity not only to click, but to convert. We're continuing to build that relationship by now exposing to you that you can engage with us on other social channels, not only on Twitter. Now we're bringing in inbound content from other social networks. And we're also asking you, again, tell us what you would like to see more of. We're continuing to profile you. We're continuing to build these profiles in an automated fashion that's going to allow us to not only collect these preferences in our welcome series, but it's going to allow us to repurpose these preferences in our welcome series and in our marketing communications. One thing that is crucial to keep in mind is that we are creating, we're taking advantage of this opportunity with these high engagement rates in our welcome series to collect these preferences, but it's our responsibility to carry that through into our marketing communications. And these preferences that you collect today within your welcome series are infinitely repurposable in your marketing communications in an automated fashion. So we want to, not only put this effort into creating this really awesome welcome series that's going to engage our users, but now we want to continue delivering on that promise as time goes by. And there's opportunities to continue to profile your users outside the welcome series. But again, let's take advantage of this opportunity to definitely start collecting these preferences from day one and immediately start providing that value back to the user through these automations. So now we're looking past emails 1 to 3. Now we're looking at email 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You may be thinking, again, I may not have 10 emails in my welcome series. You may not. That may not be right for your business, but it may be. And that's where we come into play with your client experience team. Once we create those outlines, those skeleton frames of the data we need to collect, of the information we need to provide back to our user, each business is going to be completely unique in terms of the cadence, the quantity, the number of emails, and the right messaging. It may be for your business that three emails is perfectly suited to your audience. It may be 4, it may be 10, it may be more than 10, and maybe that 10 is based on if you've engaged with one of those prior emails. Not something to be too concerned with today in today's conversation, but definitely something to follow up with your client experience team. That's where we'll come into play. We'll assist in helping to determine the right number of emails for you. And some of the things that we'll focus on in determining that number of emails are asking the questions, right? Let's continue to lay out your story with the focus on providing value. If we find ourselves moving into a realm in which we are simply pushing messages outbound, let's ask ourselves with each one of these emails, with each one of these messages in the email, is this crucial? Is this providing value? If we reach a point where we feel perhaps this isn't providing value, perhaps now we're just pushing out white noise, that's where we can start cutting back. Putting those customer profiles to work by offering more targeted content. Perhaps emails 4 to 10, perhaps emails 4 and beyond 10 are determined on whether a user has clicked on one of those preference centers or has not clicked. If we determine that a user hasn't clicked on a preference in a previous email in 1 through 3, we can definitely put fallback logic into place to say if a user hasn't provided us a preference, let's go ahead and show this default offering, this default message. But if we reach the end of emails number 1 to 3 and we determine, hey, maybe this user hasn't provided us with any information, let's send them an email that's solely based on profiling. Or if we feel we've reached all the information we need inbound from a customer in emails 1 to 3, maybe that email number 4 isn't a preference collection email, Maybe it's solely dedicated to providing more value based on those preferences. A lot of opportunities there, and again, that's something that we can help provide insight to you into your business in terms of what makes sense. And with that, we're going to continue to build the consumer profile with those live polls. And again, determining the right message, the right content, the right cadence. So some tips and takeaways from today's discussion. Avoiding friction. Don't link to a social site URL. You risk throwing subscribers into a loop of forgotten passwords and unintended troubleshooting. Use deep linking to detect and open a reader's social app, creating a seamless user experience. So this is referring to the movable link technology that allows you to directly with an email deep link to your social networks. So creating a more optimized user experience. When we are inviting our consumers, our customers, to engage with us in these social networks, knowing that on average at this point, greater than 50% of your audience is likely opening on an iPhone device itself. 10 to 11% of your audience is likely opening on an iPad. Now we take Android into the mix. We're seeing an ever-shrinking rate of engagement on desktop and mobile clients. It's important to take advantage of these deep linking functionalities in order to create that more seamless experience. If you do not take advantage of deep linking, what's the experience you can expect for your user? Hey, engage with us on Facebook, engage with us on Twitter. User clicks on that social icon and they're lead to what we refer to as the social kiss of death. m.facebook.com, m.twitter.com. Do a quick check. How many of us in attendance today know our passwords for all of our social networks? Most of us do not. I know personally I do not. When we link directly to the apps that live on our smart devices, those passwords are saved. We remove that friction, greatly increasing the chance of a user engaging with us, but more importantly, creating a more optimal user experience. And next, we talk about keeping it to one click. One-click actions providing the best user experiences and increasing the chances that they'll follow through. Again, the same line of thought. Let's not only show the right message at the right time, create that personalized and emotionally engaging experience, but let's carry that through. That's what those profiling and preferencing collections allow us to do. We're showing you a message that's much more relevant to you. We're taking the guesswork. We're creating less clicks within our email to be led to the relevant content that we know our consumers or customers are interested in on our website. Number 3, pulling in social feeds. Again, this is going to play off of everything we've talked about today. Use that live social content within your email. We're not only linking out to our social networks, but our technology, our real-time contextual technology at Movable Ink allows you to bring those conversations into the email in real time. So no longer do we have to cherry pick and live with the 3 to 5 tweets that someone on our team picked 2 or 3 years ago, the last time we were able to touch our welcome email. Now that can be a living, breathing conversation. And again, this is going to provide much more context and much more relevancy and impact for our audience when those conversations are living and breathing. And not only that, that gives you the opportunity as the consumer to see your tweet, to see your Instagram post immediately repurposed in a brand's email. That makes you feel much more recognized as a person. And finally, building those consumer profiles. Take advantage of these high engagement rates. Those stats that we looked at earlier today, we know these are our highest opened emails. We know these are highest clicked emails. But this is also the risk you run is not setting that proper expectation from the first touch point and losing that audience. Your audience will make a snap judgment on you, on your brand, on their likelihood to build that bond and connection with you based on those first touch points. So this is our opportunity to put in these automations and create a full welcome series that's going to create a conversation with our audience, allow us to make email an inbound channel now, as opposed to where it's always been solely an outbound channel. So those are the most important points that we can make to you today in terms of planning that welcome series email. We hope that this provides you with those tools you need to start the conversation, but remembering that every business, every audience is very unique. This is providing you with the tools to start planning, but definitely encourage you, those of you who are currently MoveOne clients, reach out to your client experience team. This is where we can start the planning, but allow us to help tailor the proper experience, the proper cadence, the proper content. Let us bring some ideas to the table. Many we haven't discussed today that would be very applicable to you based on your audience and your business. That's where we're here to lend a hand and partner with you in creating this perfect welcome series cadence. And with that, I think we can move forward, and I'll hand it back over as we prepare for Q&A.
Great, thank you, Chris. As always, great content, great insights. And while I give Chris a minute to review the questions that are coming in, just want to remind everybody that we will be sending out the recording within a day or so, so keep an eye in your inbox. We'll send a link to the recording and the slides. If you haven't done so already, feel free to download some of the content that we've attached in your top nav. We have 2 ebooks for you today, both part of our Building a Better Email series, but about the Welcome series, which is a great companion to this webinar, and also about newsletters. So with that, we'll turn it back to questions. So Chris, we kind of talked about this before, but can you maybe go into more detail about when consumers don't choose a preference, how you figure out profiling and sending them relevant content?
Absolutely, and this is a very common question, and this is a good question for us to be addressing. One of the tones that you'll note that we spoke about a bit today is automations, and that is something that your client experience team will help you craft not only those preference collections, not only what will we display in an email if those preferences exist, but what's the experience we're going to create if those preferences don't exist. We can help craft and optimize a strategy for you and for your business that simply allows us to layer in logic in a very simple manner of if and. If a user has provided us with a preference, let's return to them this personalized experience in an email. If they haven't, does it make sense for us to ask them for that preference again? Or does it make sense for us to show them a much more generalized message and to see if that is going to be more relevant? So there are very simple ways for us to layer in that if and logic, always with the goal of creating and returning those personalized experiences. But just to follow up on that note, live polling and progressive profiling across our 375 plus enterprise level clients, across every vertical we have insight into, and down to every business, we see high engagement rates with these profiles and preference collection methods. So this is something we see as very successful, but we do create those fallback experience for those edge cases in which a preference has not been provided.
Great. And our next question is around landing page experiences. So specifically on the personalized questions that you mentioned before, like who you're shopping for and what more would you like to see?
Perfect. I love this question. Very much in line with one of the key takeaways from today is creating less friction and less clicks to conversion. And all of that is very dependent on the landing page experience. So not only have we set an expectation in the email on that click, it is our responsibility as the email marketer to follow through on that promise by creating a relevant experience. So a few ways, I'm just going to give some high-level details. Again, as a follow-up to today's conversation, let's talk more direct. But a couple high-level takeaways. Leading a user to the proper landing page, that could be a category-level page. That could be an About Us page. It could be leading the user to social with a pre-embedded branded tweet. Again, another function of deep linking that we haven't been able to scratch the surface of today. But just a last touch point to wrap all that up. When we are looking to decide what is the proper landing page experience based on our business goals, MoveLink's real-time optimizing technology, which again, something we haven't been able to touch on today, would love to have a deeper conversation about that following today's presentation. We can help determine what is driving the most optimal performance on the website and optimize that content in the email in an automated fashion. So we can determine, hey, did leading a user to category page X or to product page Y provide the type of outcome that we're looking to drive? Did that have the result that we were looking? And we can do all that, again, in an automated fashion and in real time without having to create multiple emails or multiple segments. This would be a deeper part of the conversation to have following up today's presentation.
Awesome. So next question, can you give some best practices or guidelines around send dates for all the emails in your welcome series?
Absolutely. And what we can tell you is based on our insight, not only as email marketers ourselves, but the insight into the programs we see across the entire industry, this very much varies based on your business and your audience. Now, oftentimes, we do see optimizations in terms of cadence. That's something we can partner with you and with your ESP to put in some testing plans to see, does 3 days make sense? Does 2 days make sense? Does it make more sense to have an automation deployment based on clicks within the first email? Meaning if a user clicked and engaged and converted, do we want to immediately fire off email number 2? A lot of this is going to be highly dependent on your business goals and the actions that you're looking to drive. And this is something that we can discuss deeper in a one-on-one conversation. But to summarize, the answer is there is no standard for the number of days to send. All of this is very much going to be based on real-time interactions within your email and having those based on your business goals and KPIs and monitoring that behavior based on analytics. And that is, again, something that we haven't been able to discuss very much in depth today, but the Movable Ink Analytics Suite, which comes directly with the platform, allows us to return to you in real time engagement rates, open rates, click rates, all of that filtered in real time, so you can monitor the behavior of those users in your welcome series emails in real time and make adjustments as needed.
Great. So our next question, what do you think about running an online quiz to get to know your customers instead of asking to choose from a pull-down menu? Make it a fun quiz that gives them a fun profile, yet give us their info in a fun way instead of something that's a little more boring.
Sure, and this is a question that we discuss quite often with a number of email marketers. What we see still consistently is online quizzes, long forms, the types of data that is going to be meaningful for us as the email marketer. That's difficult to do with an online quiz. That's once you include the more questions you include, the less likely engagement that you're going to receive. Now, that doesn't mean that's not another avenue of preference collection for you and your team, but what we do see consistently is within the email channel, when we can ask a very focused question in a fun and engaging manner, and a lot of the success that has to do with preference collection is in the strategy of how we position those questions. so that it doesn't seem like we're asking you for something as a consumer or customer. That is where we see the most level of success. And also, important to remember too, that preferences change seasonally with time, with changes in your life and your lifestyle. Depending on your business, let's take a look at retail, for example, retail apparel, clothing. Changes in your preferences may occur, again, based on seasonality. Perhaps this year you like a clothing style of a certain type, but maybe a few months later when the fall line comes out, you have more of an affinity for another brand. These preference collections, both within our Welcome series as well as appropriately peppered into our marketing channel, is a way that allows us to keep up with those changing preferences. Maybe you've moved, maybe you have a new job, maybe you've had a child, maybe there's been some other change in your lifestyle. This is the method we see as most successful in continuing to collect those preferences and being able to continue serving up personalized experiences.
Great, and I think we have time for one more question. So this last question is around an engagement campaign. So if your data is showing that some users aren't engaging with your content, what's your opinion on sending them an email asking if they'd still like to hear from you?
Sure. So this is something that I would say falls outside of the Welcome series, but also is related to, right? So if we see that the content within our Welcome series emails is causing low engagement, that's likely an indication that we need to make some changes within that Welcome series. And that is something that we can also help to provide you with a tool set with the ability to, in real time, determine the proper content to serve into your email. That is going to be, both the most engaging as well as driving your business goals. But if we do see that we've moved on in the relationship and a user has fallen out of engagement, there are some alternate strategies that we can discuss to help us in determining that. But definitely, it resonates with the audience if we do, actively elicit their feedback, actively elicit their opinions, and then make changes based upon what it is the audience is telling us. Again, ways we can, create that more conversational approach. But what we do see, again, with these methods of personalizations, especially those based on preference collection and preference collection that is done in the proper cadence for your business, that helps to curb that disengagement from our audience. That helps us to not only retain those longer-term opens, but helps us to not only attain a relationship with our consumer and our customers that's based on a personal connection as opposed to simply how much incentive we can provide to them. All of that is going to roll up into a more engaging program that is going to curb that long-term attrition.
Great. Well, that's all the time that we have today. If we haven't gotten to your questions, we'll do our best to follow up with you personally. If you would like to reach out to us, you can fill out an inquiry on our website, movablink.com, tweet at us at movablink on Twitter, or send us an email at contact@movablink.com. Thanks everybody for attending today, and we'll be sending out the recording and the slides within a day or so, so keep an eye on your inbox for that. And thanks again, Chris, for your great presentation today.
Thank you all. Really appreciate your time and looking forward to having some conversations following today's presentation.
All right. Bye, everyone.